month 6 in the calendar of the Eternal, month 9, day 23, 2022. The Lord said to me, make preparations, get up and go to the south and to the west, and you will see what happens there. So I got up and went with the witnesses on the 9th, 25th, 2022, to the south and west of the island, to the same beaches that we went 2 weeks ago on the 9th, day 11, 2022. The sea had covered the coast of said place, and through the only place where we could enter, the passage was difficult. In the southern area, and after trying for 2 hours to go to the place, we returned again to the place where we went the first time, and after a while the Eternal gave the pass, and we were able to advance. We went and walked by the beach. There, a sea of snails, shells, oysters, crabs, many dead animals in the sand. When we had passed through there before, it was very difficult to find a whole sea snail, and there were very few, so few that they could be counted with the fingers of the hand. Now, it was like they all got out of the sea in despair. We began to take some because they were very beautiful, and so we continued our journey to the place. We walked, and suddenly we saw that an arm of the sea had been made, and in the distance we could see the place where we went on dry ground. Now, the arm of the sea that did not exist before was there blocking the way. I prayed and asked the Lord for his advice, and he told me, observe the water. I observed and saw that the waters were reddish, then black, and finally, almost as far as I could see, they were blue, but blue-gray. I continued observing, and I could notice that this water, reddish in color, was in the entire arm of the sea that prevented us from passing. There I was told, go back and observe everything in your path. I did it like that. I saw many crabs dying on the shores of the sea. They got out and gathered among many, as if seeking support in the face of their misfortune. We couldn't believe the amount of them that we were seeing. There, with their trembling legs, a sign of agony of death. Then I understood that the waters were poisoned, and that is why they died. Also snails with their little animal inside dying. Upon our arrival, we did not realize, but there they were passing this agony. We had passed a graveyard and a dying place of sea creatures silently dying from the poisoned waters. The waters covered much of the land, and where it was flat, it was now lowland or mountain. The houses were impacted in sight by that ferocious sea. We continued on our way, and soon I was told, take a red stone from here. I got worried, because I had been there before, but I had not seen any red stone. But I gave the voice to the others, and we began the search. And effectively, it was found, and I took it with me. In that place, when we went the first time, it was very crowded with wealthy people, but now not a soul was seen in all that place. Everything was desolate. There was only one pack of astray, abandoned dogs, and 4 loose horses on that entire coast. We left that place, thanking the Eternal for his care, for his provision, and for letting us see what was happening there. So we headed west, where the closer we got, it was more evident the passing of Hurricane Fiona. Trees, property damage, power lines on the ground, valleys still flooded. That was the sight. The street reflected that waters had been there, and what they dragged to the street was already removed by machinery on the banks of it. There was no fuel in all south and west. The gasoline pumps were closed due to lack of light, and others with signs letting it be known that there was no gasoline. But to our surprise, many kiosks on the street open in eating and drinking, music and commotion. We arrived at our destination and we started walking along the beach. There, the mounds of algae were the order of the day at the entrance of said place, and it stank strongly. That beach, that days before was full of people. Now, the decrease of it was evident, but even so, the few that there was were there, but not like before, in celebrations and laughter, but their faces reflected concern. We continued the tour, and soon a woman and a man who were in the water on the shore began to make fun of us. There a woman mockingly said, "Pray for this sinful servant, hallelujah, hallelujah. Pray for this sinful servant, hallelujah, hallelujah," and was looking at her husband and was laughing. I looked at her. She was confused and stood up from the water. She walked and tripped over a stone, and she complained of pain. And the man kept exclaiming, "Hallelujah, hallelujah," every time she pointed out that her foot hurt. So we continued our journey. Before, when we went there the first time, a man who was shirtless, seeing us, covered himself. He lowered his head as if to imply that he respected, but now there was only mocking. It was evident that we were not pleasing to the eyes of those, especially to the few women that were there, with the scarcity of clothing. Just looking at us irritated them. Anyhow, we continued to the place of destination, which, in the face of all the existing and evident combat in that place on the coast, remained intact. I was not allowed to dig what was there, but there we prayed to the Lord and thanked Him for His care, guidance, and protection. Soon He told me, "Look for a white stone." We had already toured that place before, and we did not see any white stones. But we began the search, and so the white stone was obtained that I took with me. Leaving that place, we thanked the Eternal for His mercies, and for letting us see the condition that those two places represent. We thank the Eternal for His mercies, and because He is always close to His children to teach us the things that sometimes we have at plain sight, but we don't realize it. It is my request and prayer that we can understand. May the Lord bless us.